getting that hope.
And if that rookie gets grounded, well, the jet is always ready for takeoff. We're talking about the other big rookie contributor, James Jett, who gets his first NFL start today in place of the injured Alexander Wright.
Well, this guy is a burner. Now, he has 4.1 speed, and he makes great adjustments to the ball, but the thing that really surprises a lot of them is he has great toughness inside the middle of the field.
Well, as for the Bengals, you're always looking for a spark when you start the season at 0-10. David Klingler's quarterback coach, the All-Pro here who played for so many years for Cincinnati, Ken Anderson, called the plays last week for the first time, and Dan, it worked out so well that they're going to go ahead and give it another shot today.
Well, I think it's a good idea. It's a menu for success. With a young quarterback, you need to have him very in tune, and a lot of the times you get those young quarterbacks that get a little jittery, but a veteran like Kenny Anderson can give him a game plan menu, and he does a lot better.
And there is Ken Anderson. We talked with him yesterday, perhaps one of the busiest coaches in the NFL this week. There is his script of plays. He says he's worked out about the first 14 offensive plays. We'll see what kind of calls he has for David Klingler. The Bengals won the toss. They will receive. Patrick Robinson and Eric Ball back deep for the Bengals. And this is Eric Ball juggling the kickoff and working his way back up the left side across the 20. And a pretty good recovery for Eric Ball, who returns it all the way back out to the 28-yard line. The tackle made by James Trapp, but flags on the play. There is David Klingler. And as mentioned, there's a little scuffle developing at midfield. I believe Steve Tovar, number 51, involved in the scuffle for Cincinnati. I think these guys are ready to play. Maybe the snow has something to do with that.
Well, I think that snow's made everybody feel a little bit more frisky about playing this game today. You know, that's one of the byproducts. You know, no one wants to be 0-10, but, you know, it seems like they get a little bit cranked up trying to get those things changed around.
Well, a penalty against Cincinnati. It was a 28-yard return for Eric Ball. And here's the call from Kukar, the referee.
Personal foul, number 93 on the return team. Half the distance to the goal, first down.
And a penalty on Ty Parton. David Klingler, coming off his best game as a pro, according to his coaches up front. This is a Bengal offensive line playing together for just the second time this season. Tom Scott and Scott Brumfield, a couple of rookies, but very, very large. And in the backfield for Klingler, Derek Fenner, Harold Green, the 1,000-yard rusher last year, but only 275 yards coming into today's game. 1st and 10 for the Bengals at about the 19. And he'll keep it on the ground to Harold Green, fighting to get up to the 15-yard line, and he is swarmed over by the Raider defense. Greg Townsend made the stop along with Winston Moss. This is the second-ranked defense in the NFL. They're led by 13-year veteran Howie Long, who's been schooling Chester McLaughlin, the second-year man out of Clemson. Art Shell says he is amazing. The linebackers, Aaron Wallace, Joe Kelly, and Moss. Moss, the leading tackler, and Terry McDaniel leads the defensive secondary for the Raiders. They have 9 interceptions between them. McDaniel has 3. Torn Dorn comes in as the nickel back. Call it a gain of 1. 2nd down and 9 for Cincinnati at the 15. And Harold Green gets the call again. He's lucky if he gained anything. So, and we knew the Bengals would be conservative. They want to keep David Klingler out of the 3rd and long situations. And that was what Ken Anderson emphasized yesterday when we talked with him.
Well, what they're trying to do is make sure they don't get themselves in a position where that Raider pass rush can tee off on them. Now, that's exactly what they've gotten into here. They were trying to get into 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4. Now it's 3rd and 9.
Also mentioned that Patrick Robinson has gotten the start for Carl Pickens. He is out of the game with a sprained left foot. This is Derek Fenner, and he gets nowhere in the backfield. He lost a yard, and the boos are cascading here early at Riverfront.
Well, the reason the fans are booing is the fact that 315-pound Chester McLaughlin was in the backfield before the ball carrier got the ball. Now, you know, you're going to have to get a little bit better blocking, especially in 3rd and long.
Well, there's Lee Johnson in punt formation, and Tim Brown, who last week became the all-time leading punt returner for the Los Angeles Raiders, he stands back at midfield, so the Raiders with an excellent chance for good field position. And And the lefty Lee Johnson, not a very high kick at all, as Brown takes it in his tracks at midfield and skirts to about the 44-yard line, a return of 6 for Tim Brown. As we take a look at the offense for the Los Angeles Raiders, the first time that quarterback Jeff Hostetler has faced the Cincinnati Bengals in his career, and up front for him, Stevens, who gets the start for Gerald Perry today. Gerald Perry, a death in the family, so Rich Stevens gets the start, the former Bengal there. Max Montoya, the 15-year veteran of the former Bengal, is the right guard. Robinson, averaging more than 80 yards in his last 3 games for the Raiders. James Jett getting his first NFL start. Tyrone Montgomery and Raghib Ismail come in on the wideout, 3 wideout set. This is Steve Smith, who has a big hole up the middle, and he picks up first down yardage. He's at about the Bengal 32-yard line, and he's brought down by Darrell Williams. The Bengals defense, they missed John Copeland today, out with a sprained left knee, so Mike Fryer gets the start for him at the left end position. Tovar, McDonald, and Alfred Williams, along with the veteran Francis, the linebackers. Darrell Williams has been the bright spot in this Bengal defensive secondary. He's the leading tackler. Marcelo Simmons, the rookie, comes in the nickel package. 1st and 10 for the Raiders, and the first carry of the ball game for Greg Robinson, stopped by Daniel Stubbs, and Robinson's lucky if he picked up a yard.
Well, the loss of John Copeland along that defensive front will be one of the things we're going to be watching today. Now, the Raiders have gotten that running game going, and what they're doing is they've got a big, strong offensive line. They just go ahead and try to punch holes in you, and then the young rookie, Greg Robinson, has shown great skills at waiting and letting that hole develop and then bursting through it.
Well, there's Fryer, who fills in for Copeland. The coaching staff of the Bengals, just when Copeland was really coming on, they're forced to play without him. Flags on the play as Hostetler goes over the middle to Tim Brown. Brown has the completion at the 26-yard line, but a flag has been thrown. Steve Tovar made the stop on Brown. Bernie Kukar, the ref. And he's indicated that the penalty is on Cincinnati.
Offside on the defense, number 96. 5-yard penalty, repeat second down.
Well, that'll be Daniel Stubbs, who's trying to get a little bit of a pass rush here. Now, one of the problems that the Raiders bring is the fact that, again, they have that great speed on the outside, and you've got to make sure you can't overcommit to stop the run. Now, when they do get in a passing situation, you're going to get coverage for a little bit. With that speed, you better hurry and hope your rushman gets there.
2nd down and 5 for the Raiders. They're at the Bengal 27. And here is Steve Smith. And Steve Smith gets in the 25, inside the 25, down to the 23, before George Hinkle makes the stop.
You know, we watched Miami-Dallas the other day in the bad conditions. They gave the ball to the fullback almost exclusively, and it looks like that's part of the Raider game plan here early.
Number 64. Number 64.
They're going with their 2 tight end offense right now. Number 64, Todd Pete, lining up on the near side there.
3rd down and about a yard for the Raiders. Opening moments of this game in a snow flurry at Riverfront Stadium, and Jeff Hostetler forced to call a timeout, not happy at all to have to burn it with 10:13 left in the first. Winter Wonderland at Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati. The Bengals and the Raiders just underway, and Art Shell, his team, did pick up a 12-7 win in San Diego last week, Dan, but it was really the first time he felt his team played a full 60 minutes of football. The Raiders have had a tendency to really fade in the second half of ball games this year, and he got an all-out effort last week, he thought.
Well, anyway, they're calling the number 64 Todd Pete as an eligible receiver, but the thing is, getting back to Art Shell, he feels like he has enough talent to go to the Super Bowl if they put it together for 60 minutes. Until last week, he really hasn't gotten it.
Important 3rd down and short yardage here. Greg Robinson has to go way outside to try to get it, and the Bengal defense, I believe, stopped him. Darrell Williams and Alex Gordon were there to meet Robinson on the corner.
Well, that is more than anything else a moral victory for the Cincinnati defense. You know, here's a defense that has not played very well, especially against the run all year, and then they stopped the Raiders on a 3rd and short early in this game. That's got to be a big ego boost.
Robinson may have lost a little bit of yardage there, so that will bring out Jeff Jager. He leads the AFC with 22 field goals so far this year. They've spotted it at the 32, so it'll be a 42-yarder for Jager. Low kick, and it is no good. So the Raiders drive it down the field after good field position, but come up with nothing. No score at Snowy Riverfront Stadium. 9:24 left in the first quarter, and a second opportunity offensively for the Cincinnati Bengals. They take over 1st and 10 from their own 24. Klingler with a little bit of time. He'll run it out, and he'll pick up 4 or 5 yards and get close to the 30-yard line. And we mentioned the Raiders' drive stalling there without a point last week against San Diego, even though they won the ball game 12-7. They did not score a touchdown, even though they outgained the Chargers 421-154, and they also had the highest time of possession in 17 years. They had the ball 41 minutes and 48 seconds. Gain of 5 on the keeper from Klingler. And this time they'll hand it off to Harold Green. The ball is loose. The Raiders have picked it up. And now nobody knows if the play's been blown dead or not.
There was a whistle. It was down.
That was
by contact. But it was kind of comical watching Chester McLaughlin, the 320-pound scat back, grab it, dance around. Somebody tried to tackle him. I don't know if that's a good idea, trying to tackle that guy.
Well, the ball has been spotted at the 33-yard line, so it is now 3rd down and short, called a long one for Cincinnati. They wanted to stay out of a 3rd and long situation, so things not going so badly now, in the early going at least for Cincinnati, as Klingler calls a timeout.
Well, the first play, the pass pro broke down, and Klingler rushed for about 5 yards out of a scramble. Now they're in 3rd and short, where they want to be.
We'll be back to Riverfront. Scoreless, the Bengals and the Raiders. Here in Cincinnati holds virtually all of the Cincinnati passing records, and there is the script of plays, Dan, that he's been studying all week long.
Well, he's got 5 different sheets. You know, it's 1st and 10, 2nd and short, blah, blah, blah. It took him a little bit of time to find that 3rd and 1 and a long one because they had to call timeout. But now Klingler has exactly what they want to do in the situation.
3rd and about a long one, maybe 2 for Klingler. He'll drop back and throw it. Looking downfield, and he was looking for Jeff Query. And Query makes the reception all the way down to the Raider 41. 1st and 10 for Cincinnati.
I think he got the wrong sheet. That was a 3rd and 11, not 3rd and 1.
Well, there's Kenny looking at his play sheet. Did I call that play?
Well, I tell you what, and that's what I think you have to do. You're 0 and 10. You've got to take a chance every chance you get. Now, you'll see here, they just go ahead and run a little play action, and they find Query out there on an ISO pattern, making a great throw and catch. And again, Klingler has a lot better feel for this offense on this scripted system by quarterback Kenny Anderson.
24-yard gain, and right now the Bengals are in the portion of the field that is beginning to accumulate some snow. Flags on the play, and Chester McLaughlin may have moved prematurely on that Raider defensive line. But I think the snow now accumulating, becoming somewhat of a factor, especially on this end of the field.
Ball starts on the offensive center, number 64, prior to the snap. 5-yard penalty, still 1st down.
We'll check that. Not McLaughlin, it was Kozerski, the Bengals center.
But the reason Kozerski pulled out of there was the fact that McLaughlin was over him on alignment. Now, they're playing an over-under front where they're moving those big guys back inside over the center, and believe me, that'll make you nervous.
2 tight end formation for Klingler, Frisch and Tony McGee. That's Query in motion to the near side. And a fake to Green. Klingler rolling to his right, and he's got Frisch, who's able to hang on to the football. And maybe he got to the original line of scrimmage for a gain of about 5, so that'll still bring up 2nd down and 10.
Well, what the Bengals ideally would like to do is go with this 2 tight end offense. Now, the Raiders are very strong in the front 7. They're going to go with 2 tight ends, and what they're going to try to do is run up inside and then, of course, run these little bootleg passes here. Frisch doing a good job getting outside, releasing. I think that's what you have to do against this Raider front. Don't run right at them all the time. Make them work for it a little bit.
Well, the Bengals have never taken their first drive in for a touchdown. They failed to do that on their first possession. That was their goal this week, but they are in pretty good shape here in their second offensive series. Klingler to the air again. He's got Query. And Query for first down yardage. He's down to the Raider 27. Lionel Washington made the stop on Jeff Query, who now has topped his career high for receiving yards in a season.
Well, the offensive line did a pretty good job, gave him some time to throw this, and then here you see just a little turnaround. Klingler zips the ball into him. Now, that is something else we'll have to watch today. Here's a young quarterback in weather that is not really ideal for throwing it. He's been able to do it pretty well so far.
Jeff Query needed just 8 yards to top his best year as a pro. He had that year with the Packers back in 1990. 1st and 10 call. The fake again through the middle to Green. And this time, Klingler will take the sack. Chester McLaughlin got to him at the 30-yard line. The 4th sack of the season for the youngster out of Clemson. And we mentioned at the top that Art Shell thinks this guy is amazing.
Well, I tell you what, the guy that made it happen was number 74 coming from the top there, Harrison. McLaughlin was basically the spy guy. Now, when you have a quarterback like Klingler, a guy that can really get out of the pocket and cause you trouble, you put a guy in a spy technique where he just basically tries to stay in front and let the other guys flush him, and then you jump on him. Kind of a gravy sack.
Klingler takes his 27th sack of the season. The Bengals have now given him 40 on the year. That's the most in the NFL. Klingler pressure from the right, but he gets it away to Query. And on the 2nd down and 14 call, Query gets about 5 yards, so that'll bring up 3rd and long for the Bengals.
Well, here's one of the things that you look for in a young quarterback. Can he feel when the blitz is coming? And if he can, he has to side adjust. There, Klingler saw him coming from the outside on a blitz. He looked the other way and picked up Query. He ran a good side adjustment. Now, last week, it was the first time he really started doing these things in the Jet game, and Kenny Anderson said, you know, I think that this really has given him a lot better feel for it, and the 3 weeks he took off, he really seemed to have made a lot of progress in that time off and benefited from it almost.
3rd and 11. This time, Klingler plenty of time, tried to hit Derek Fenner. It was incomplete, so that will bring out Doug Pelfrey. And Pelfrey is just 1 kick from tying the team record 13 straight field goals. It's shared by Jim Breach and Horst Muhlman. As Pelfrey got off to a slow start, he missed 4 of his first 6, but he's now made 12 straight. Lee Johnson is the holder, and he'll spot it at about the 35-yard line, so this will be a 45-yarder for Pelfrey to try to get a share of the record and a 13th straight field goal. And the rookie out of Kentucky splits the uprights. 13 straight for Doug Pelfrey. And a share of the Bengal team record. Cincinnati on top, 3-0. The Raiders a huge favorite here today, but so far, the snowy conditions, the Raiders finding things difficult. Let's take a look at the natural gas quarterback efficiency ratings. John Elway leading the way for the Broncos. Jeff Hostetler, the Raider quarterback, in 6th with a 78 rating. And David Klingler with a 61.6, 13th in the AFC. Lee Johnson, the punter, he has the kicking duties for Cincinnati. Actually, that's Doug Pelfrey. Usually it is Lee Johnson, but Pelfrey kicks off and back deep. This is Willie Galt, and Willie Galt has found a seam up the middle. He's to midfield, and he can burn. 1 man to beat, but he's chased out of bounds by number 24, Alan Grant. Willie Galt. Huge kickoff return for the Raiders, and that will put them in business at the Bengal 29.
Well, Willie and I played together for many years in Chicago, and if there's one thing he can do for your team, it's this. He will shock a team with his speed, and I'll tell you what, he did it an awful lot of the times on kickoff returns. Now, that's what you're looking for. If you're Art Shell, you're on the road, you're down 3-0, your offense is kind of sputtering, you're looking for a spark. But Willie Galt, the 11-year veteran, still supplies it.
Yeah, there's a lot of track stars on that Raider team, and Willie Galt was a former Olympic sprinter back in '80. So he's got speed as well. 1st and 10 for the Raiders. Hostetler on the play fake. Flag on the play as it's in and out of the hands of the rookie James Jett. But We'll see what the flags indicate. Mentioned James Jett getting his first NFL start. Alexander Wright is out with an injured ankle.
Offside on the defense, number 98. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Penalty on George Hinkle, the right end for Cincinnati. So it'll be 1st and 5. And after the 60-yard kickoff return by Willie Galt, that's put the Raiders in great shape. But look at the speed in this Raider wide receiver corps.
I'll tell you what that does. It makes for a lot of sleepless nights for a defensive coordinator. Rob Lynn says this is scary when you watch him line up.
This is Steve Smith up the middle, but to further elaborate on that speed, Alexander Wright, who has won the NFL's fastest man titles the last 2 years, may not even win a race among this group. That's how fast they are. James Jett's been timed at a 4.1. He was a member of the Olympic 400-meter relay team, along with James Trapp, also a member of that, a gold medalist in the 1992 games. There's so much speed on this Raider wide receiver corps. It is scary. 2nd down and 2 for the Raiders. And movement on the right side of the line. It looked like the right tackle, Bruce Wilkerson, moved prematurely.
Well, it could be the right tackle, and maybe Max Montoya, the right guard, the longtime Bengal, trying to get a shot on his old buddy, Tim Crumride. Now, we talked with Max yesterday, and he says, you know, it's always a lot of fun to come back, but he says it's almost kind of heartbreaking seeing my old teammates have to go through a season like this, 0-10, but he said, don't ask me to show them any mercy today.
Well, the Raiders continuing to pick up the penalties. I do believe it was Wilkerson and not Montoya who picked up the penalty on the right side of the line, so that'll bring it 2nd down and 7 for the Raiders, trying to make good after the 60-yard kickoff return by Willie Galt. Hostetler to the end zone, and incomplete. It was intended for the tight end Ethan Horton. Fernandez Vincent on the coverage in the back of the end zone.
Well, you saw that the Raiders, even with that great outside speed, they're trying to do some different things. They've been running it inside, and then they reached up and tried to hit their tight end in an isolated pattern here. You'll see Horton just try to knock Vincent off and then run a post pattern. It was a good throw. It looks like he just couldn't get his left arm up and bring it in.
And Jeff Hostetler took a shot from George Hinkle after releasing the football. 3rd down and 7 now. Raghib Ismail in the offensive set. And this is James Jett. Makes the catch, fumbles the football. I believe the Raiders recovered it. Jett was close to the first down, but with the fumble, that will move it back a few yards.
Well, I think that's a good call. The ball was stripped before Jett was able to bring it down. And we'll watch right here. Marcelo Simmons going over the back, stripping the ball before he really has possession. Now, possession is, of course, gain control and have 2 feet on the ground. I don't think he even had a chance to get 1 down.
All right, so 4th down and 7. That will bring out Jeff Jager. He's already missed from 42 yards. This will be a 44-yard attempt. Another line drive attempt by Jager, and for the 2nd straight time, he's missed it. $42-yarder off the mark earlier, and now a 44-yarder leaves the Raiders scoreless with 2 minutes and 30 seconds left of the first quarter.
Well, I'm not a kicker, and I've never really tried to kick the ball, but I would have to think that in a cold, weathery situation like this, maybe a little bit tight and you're not really getting through the ball, and it looks like he had just flat pulled these last 2 kicks.
Well, in sunny San Diego last week, it was Jeff Jager who kicked a club record time 4 field goals. He has done that 3 times in his NFL career, but he's been off the mark early here, and the Bengals have taken over at the 26, 1st down and 10. They lead it 3-0. And Green with a good move to the outside for good yardage. He bounces his way up to the 35.
Unbelievable bunny hop by Harold Green there. Take another look at this. I think you'll see just an inside handoff. Green bounces it outside, running away from Wallace, the linebacker, and then jumps. Now, I'll tell you what, some of those cornerbacks that come up and try to make a tackle by taking your knee out, that's one way to get them back up there where they're trying to wrap up. You make them miss like that a few times, it'll get their attention in a hurry.
Well, you see the declining numbers by Harold Green. He had 688 yards last year at this point through 10 games and came in with just 275 yards. Klingler loops it up top for Derek Fenner, and he's got the reception. Yes, down at the Raider 43. Derek Hoskins on the coverage for the Raiders, but Derek Fenner at 6'3", 228 pounds with a nifty acrobatic catch on the sideline.
Well, you'll see here, they're bringing a blitz, and just before contact, he gets rid of the ball. Now, Fenner makes a great adjustment going up forward, but I got to love the game plan that Cincinnati has put together. They're keeping them off balance and throwing the ball when they want to.
1st and 10. Klingler finds some time, loops it out to Harold Green. Another short pass. That's good for a gain of about 2. Meanwhile, Chester McLaughlin is going at it with Scott Brumfield. And that's 320-pound Brumfield against 315-pound McLaughlin. A lot of beef there.
Well, I promise you, you don't want to be in the middle of these two when they get tangled up. But the thing is, McLaughlin's done a great job of moving up and inside that line and making some plays. Now, it'll be defensive holding. And Art Shell calls McLaughlin a big cat. Well, I tell you what, you got your hands full, and Brumfield is having to work overtime today trying to get him to contain.
On the defense, number 36, 5-yard penalty, 1st down.
Klingler off to a good start. He's 5 for 6 for 71 yards. And the holding penalty has put the ball at the Raider 38. Closing seconds of the first quarter, Bengals up 3-0. It's like Klingler fumbled the exchange before giving it off to Harold Green, and McLaughlin there to meet him. And that could be the final play of the first quarter. Snowy Riverfront Stadium. Jeff Jager has missed a couple of field goals for the Raiders, a 42-yarder and a 44-yarder. Meanwhile, Doug Pelfrey has hit on a 45-yarder, and that has given the Bengals a 3-0 lead at the end of 1. Stadium, there is Chester McLaughlin, and in talking with Art Shell last night, Dan Hampton, Art Shell said this guy has a chance to be the next Cortez Kennedy.
Well, yeah, I haven't had a chance to see him in person, but I am very impressed. I think he's already made 4 or 5 plays, and he's being double-teamed an awful lot. Now, when you can get a guy like that can still be a factor in double teams, headaches.
But the Bengals on the move. They're in Raider territory, 2nd down and 7. The swing out from Klingler to Fenner. He's got 1st down yardage inside the 25. They're going to spot him at the 22. Terry McDaniel, the left cornerback, along with Derek Hoskins, ran him out of bounds. But Derek Fenner with his 2nd reception and 2nd for a big gain.
Well, a lot of times if your offense is having trouble running the ball, what you want to do is get some little checkoff patterns to your backs. And Fenner has done a good job. Harold Green's made some good plays on that. But here you'll see rolling out and getting the ball to Fenner. And he's breaking a tackle. And last year, I tell you what, he rushed for 70 yards against these Raiders, and they know Derek Fenner can hurt them.
You see the numbers on Fenner for the year. The former Seahawk. And now Klingler drops back on 1st down. Rifle to the end zone. And he's got Jeff Query, but Query not able to hang on to it. That was a rocket from David Klingler.
A lot of guys, you hope they make that catch. But I think that Jeff Query will make that catch 9 out of 10 times. I think the Raiders dodged a pretty good-sized shell there. You'll see him just running a post, and Klingler throwing the ball excellently right in there. Now, I'm not kidding you. Jeff Query is an excellent receiver. I'm sure he knows he should have had that one.
That was Lionel Washington on the coverage of Query, the leading receiver for the Bengals. Carl Pickens again out today with a sprained left foot. And some movement in the Bengals backfield that Might have been Derek Fenner who moved. Ed Kukar, the referee.
False start on the offense. The entire line moved prior to the snap. 5-yard penalty. Still second down.
Well, this is an entire line which is playing together for only the second week this season. Let's have our first update. Head to New York and Jim Lampley.
Dan, the writers have weighed in with their votes for the college football poll, and here's the resulting Bowl Coalition poll. Nebraska #1, Florida State, not West Virginia #2. The bad news for Don Nehlen and the Mountaineers, Nebraska and Florida State will meet in the Orange Bowl, with presumably the winner taking the national championship. Now back to the two DHs.
All right, Jim. Second down and 15. That was Harold Green. Joe Kelly made the stop for the Raiders. But that offensive line, Dan, for Cincinnati has picked up some penalties this year. We mentioned that this is just the second time this unit has played together. They have the rookies, Brumfield and Tom Scott. Now, they are rookies. They don't have a lot of technique, but they are gigantic. 320 goes Brumfield, 350 goes Scott.
Well, they are. I think they average about 303 pounds across the front, and you can expect them to go ahead and stay behind him and try to run the ball a little bit.
Third down and 9. The reverse to Patrick Robinson. And Robinson runs into some Raiders at about the 16-yard line. Mike Jones ran into Patrick Robinson, who we knew would get some more playing time today with Pickens out. Robinson, the rookie out of Tennessee State.
Well, Robinson is a guy that's here because they really like what he could do returning kicks, and really this is almost what you get when you run a reverse. And there you see him run by his blocker. Kozerski was out there trying to get a block. Somebody lit him up, and Robinson made a couple of yards.
So Pelfrey out to attempt a 33-yard field goal attempt. This would be the club record for straight. He missed it. Oh, so Pelfrey, who tied the club record with 13 straight field goals, not able to break it there. We'll be right back. Wants to be the first NFL team to give the Bengals their first win of the season, but what did Art Shell have to do this week to get his team up against an 0-10 club, Dan?
Well, I think what you have to do is realize that your guys have got to play hard no matter who they're playing against, and the Cincinnati is capable of hurting.
Hostetler over the middle. As he was looking for Tim Brown, incomplete. On the coverage was Mike Brim for Cincinnati, and Mike Brim may be the bravest of the Bengals. Stan, they're going through an 0-10 season, and we were walking through the parking lot at Spinney Field yesterday and noticed the license plate of number 43 said Mr. Brim. Maybe not the kind of license plate you want to drive around town with the club 0-10. Well,
he showed great courage on that last coverage, too. I mean, you got to have courage when you're 0-10 to let anybody know you're part of the team. But, you know, I think that they're going to turn it around soon. They just got to keep fighting it.
Well, this is James Jett in motion to the near side. Second down and 10. The pitch to Greg Robinson. And the rookie fighting for about 3 or 4 yards before he is swarmed over. Steve Tovar among a host of Bengals there to meet Greg Robinson, who in the last 3 games has picked up 249 yards, and he's done it against some pretty good defenses. Chicago, Kansas City, and San Diego.
Now we'll take a look at Tovar. He gets chopped and still gets up and makes a play. You know, that's something special. You know, everybody is going to get blocked. The ones that get up and go to the ball carrier in a bad mood are the ones you want to line up.
Tovar, the third-round draft pick out of Ohio State, rookie All-American, playing left inside linebacker for Cincinnati. Third down and 6. Hostetler dragged down finally, and making the sack was Daniel Stubbs. His second sack of the year.
Well, the defensive line is kind of beat up, and Ron Lynn, the defensive coordinator, is having to do a lot of different things trying to patch these holes. But I'll tell you what, Stubbs has responded today. He's already made a couple of plays. Here you see him just bull rushing in there, getting Hostetler corral there. And that's what you want from your defense. You know, you're 0-10, you're going to look for a spark someplace. Right there, Stubbs is trying to get it going.
Hostetler is so strong. You know, last week in the game, he had to be dragged down by some of the Charger defenders and sometimes didn't go down. This is Jeff Gossett punting back for Patrick Robinson, and he'll bring it up from the 38. And he brings it across midfield, and he's into Raider territory at the 49. So Cincinnati with 11:28 left in the first half, have a 3-0 lead. Well, the winless Bengals at 0-10. Could this be the day? Fans braving the snow flurries here. And look at what the Bengals have done in total yards over the Raiders. This is a Bengal offense ranked last in the NFL.
Well, I think David Klingler has responded to the balanced kind of attack that Kenny Anderson, the quarterback coach, has given him. Now, you know, they've done a good job trying to hit it up in there. They got some good running, and on a lot of sure running downs, they've reached up and thrown the ball and connected. So they've done a good job of keeping the Raider pass rush at bay.
And the Bengals begin this drive in Raider territory. Harold Green right up the middle, maybe got 1 yard. Well, let's go to our NFL Live studios in New York. Check in once again with Jim Lampley.
Dan, let's go to Atlanta and look at Andre Rison's 11th touchdown catch of the year, tying him for league leadership in that category with Jerry Rice. It came in the first quarter. It gave Atlanta a 10-0 lead over Cleveland, which they have now carried into period number 2. Back to Dan and Dan.
Boy, the Falcons, a hot team in the NFL, and Cleveland going the opposite direction. 2nd down and 9 after the 1-yard gain by Green. Ball at the 47 of the Raiders. And this is Green again, and this time he'll lose 1 or 2. And guess who was in there? Chester McLaughlin.
Well, he keeps making plays like this. You know, he may be the guy that goes in Cortez Kennedy's place to the Pro Bowl. You're seeing 91 in the center of your screen there. Basically just running around behind the block, and a lot of times a 300-pounder will never get to the running back. There he shows that big cat quickness, getting over there and closing that down. Pretty impressive.
3rd down and 11 as you look at Chester McLaughlin, the former #1 pick last year out of Clemson, the ACC Lineman of the Year and All-American. 3rd down and long for Klingler, takes the deep drop, runs out of trouble to his right, and his man over the middle. Patrick Robinson makes his first reception of the game. Terry McDaniel brought him down.
Klingler is getting a lot of good plays to call, but what he's done is make great adjustments. That time the pass protection broke down. He's moved to his right a little bit, and he found a hole and just fired a strike in here. You know, one of the things that you look for in a quarterback is a guy that, you know, can improvise a little bit. That time, doing a great job finding Robinson through one of the cracks.
Good for a first down at the Raider 35. Fake to Harold Green, and coming back to meet Klingler was McLaughlin. And the Raiders feel they have the loose ball. And Kukar, the referee, indicates that the Raiders have it, but I have a feeling there's going to be a discussion.
Well, we talked about how Klingler had made some good moves trying to get away from that rush. That time McLaughlin caught him from behind. Klingler unaware he was there.
Well, the referee Kukar had indicated that the Raiders had the ball, and now has indicated that Cincinnati will retain possession.
Well, Klingler has had 6 fumbles this year, being stripped from the ball on a sack. That's one area that he really has to work on. We're going to get a call here once they get it sorted out.
That's Kukar discussing it with Aaron Pointer, the head linesman, after Kukar indicated the Raiders had the football. It was Pointer that came in and apparently changed Kukar's mind, so indeed the Bengals will retain it.
A 5-yard face mask penalty against the defense. The play ended up behind the line of scrimmage. The fall was behind the line of the scrimmage. We have to at least get to the line of scrimmage, and we will repeat the down.
What he's saying is the defensive foul will be marked off from the original line of scrimmage. Now, that's the thing that you don't want from a veteran team like the Raiders. Here, we're going to watch here, again, Klingler getting out of a collapsing pocket there. But McLaughlin showing that cat quickness. I'm telling you, Dan, this guy is something. Now, there it looked like Klingler was sacked. The ball came loose afterwards. But either way, when you get a stupid penalty like grabbing a face mask, it doesn't matter. And again, you know, Art Shell has challenged his team to avoid some of these mistakes, to try to put it together, and they just seem to keep shooting themselves in the leg.
Well, they still haven't settled things on the field. You heard Kukar.
It is first down. First down.
Yes, Kukar had indicated 3rd down to the crowd. They let him know about it, and now the indication that it's first down and 10 for Davis Shula. I mean, can things get any worse for this guy? They're going to take a first down away from him?
Attack him any way you can get him, David.
So it is first down and 10. The Bengals at the 35-yard line. They lead the Raiders 3-0, approaching the 9-minute mark of the first half. And the play stopped again. And the play clock just might have run out on the Bengals.
Cincinnati prior to the snap.
Now they called a timeout. So Kukar, a busy man so far today. And we will take a timeout as well. Snowy Riverfront Stadium, Cincinnati up 3-0.
Success. Last thing they don't want to do is get a penalty for running the play clock down. Here you see Robinson calling the timeout right before the clock expires.
And the Bengals have it first down and 10 from the 35. And this is Harold Green bouncing out to the left side and picking up some good yardage. He got about 6 yards before Nolan Harrison ran him down. So Harold Green beginning to find some daylight. He does not have one 100-yard game all season. His season high just 68 yards.
Well, this Raider defense, what they do, they love to rush the passer, and playing the run is something almost like an obligation. Here you see Green just running through some of those tackles. Now, I think that's what you have to do. You've got to make them earn the right to rush the passer, make them stop the run. They've done a good job of getting it done.
Call it a gain of 7 for Green. Here he is again looking for the first down marker, loses the football, but Tom Scott, the left tackle, able to recover it. Joe Kelly, the Raider middle linebacker, put the hit on Green, or the strip. But an alert rookie out of East Carolina, Tom Scott, the All-American, fell on it.
Well, you talk about recovering the ball. This guy, 350 pounds, he can cover up a lot of things. He can cover up a Volkswagen. Watch him here collapse on that ball. You better check the air pressure on it.
We talked with the veteran Joe Walter yesterday, and he was telling us about the rookies Brumfield and Scott. He says they don't have a lot of technique, but they a lot of pounding. Klingler dragged to the ground by Chester McLaughlin. Another sack.
Put him in the Hall of Fame.
For Chester McLaughlin, the big cat.
Yeah, we're going to take a look at him. We got him on ISO. Here you'll see him getting a good rush, getting those arms up, and then bursting to the football. Amazing agility for a 330-pound man.
You believe this guy weighed 370 pounds at Clemson?
And he's always hungry.
2 sacks today, 5 sacks for the season for Chester. Yeah, Howie Long said these guys put it away.
I believe that was his 3rd sack.
And a second down and 17. Harold Green with some good yardage, but it'll still bring up 3rd down and long for Cincinnati.
Well, we talked earlier about how Cincinnati is trying to avoid those 3rd and long, and what you got to have is get a good running game going, and then hit those little sweet swing dink passes and stay out of that 3rd and 9, 3rd and 12. They're going to be in 3rd and 8, and thus far in the game, they're 0 for 2 when they're in 3rd and 5 plus. It'll be interesting to see if they can get it done here.
David Klingler has been sacked 28 times. This is the previous play. Taking another sack from McLaughlin, and Klingler seems very frustrated. Calls another timeout. The second one of the half, so they'll have 1 remaining.
Well, it looks like again, Kenny Anderson calling the plays from 4 different cards. Seems like they didn't have a real good feel about what they wanted to do. It took a little bit too long.
He also was apprehensive yesterday when we talked to him about calling plays from the sideline. The offensive coordinator, Michael Pope, is upstairs, so Ken Anderson confers with him for the play calling, but he was very nervous about calling plays from the sidelines where he doesn't get a good overview of the offensive situation.
And that's where you really need that view, is 3rd and 8 and look at coverages, and he was a little bit unsure there.
Well, coming up at halftime, it's the Domino's Pizza NFL Live halftime report. Jim Lampley and O.J. Simpson in our studios. O.J. will take a look at the Buffalo Bills defense. And the Bills, of course, are the key game in Kansas City today. The Bills take on the Chiefs. And Kansas City expected to start Joe Montana today in that one. 3rd down and 8. Klingler at the Raider 22, drops back, sends it out to the left sideline, and he's got Tony McGee, the tight end, all the way down inside the 1.
Well, the folks in Cincinnati have waited for David Klingler to show what he can do. I think he's showing it here in the first half, Dan. Last week, he had his best game as a pro, but today, time and time again, against a big rush, he has been able to make a dynamite throw. Here you'll see him going back and taking a pounding. I mean, McLaughlin, put him in the Hall of Fame. Get him out of here. He's going to hurt somebody. And here, a great adjustment back to the ball by Robinson.
Tony McGee, the rookie out of Michigan. 9th play of this drive for Cincinnati. Derek Fenner trying to get in the second effort. No indication of the touchdown yet. And they're going to call him down about the line of scrimmage.
Well,
so it'll be second down and goal.
Well, he was stopped on the initial surge, and then he made another lunge, and then a Raider bumper card even looked like he made it across the plate.
I think our friend Chester McLaughlin put the hit on Fenner.
Well, we'll see Fenner here. He's a big guy, 230. You want a guy like that, but he just got too much traffic around his legs. Can't wait through the trash and get in there.
Harold Green has come out of the game for Cincinnati. Eric Ball in the backfield, and this is Ball in for the end zone. Touchdown, Cincinnati. Just the second rushing touchdown for Cincinnati all season long, and you saw the relieved expression on the faces of David Shula and Kenny Anderson.
Well, at any given time this year, Cincinnati has been able to move the ball. They just haven't scored very many points. They've always had problems. I'm sure they're ecstatic about the fact that not only did they move it through the air, but they were able to pound it in on the ground.
So Pelfrey with the extra point. A flag has been thrown on the play as Pelfrey's kick was good. And it looks like we'll have a re-kick. Pelfrey just missed a field goal a little earlier. 33-yarder.
Number 82 on the offense. 10-yard penalty. Will re-kick.
So it was Tony McGee with a hole, and he just had the big gainer that put the Bengals in business inside the 1. Dave Shula's team penalties have just killed them all year, but this shouldn't be too much of a problem for Pelfrey.
Well, again, you know, you're looking at this offense. Klingler has only started 7 times this year. McGee's a rookie. I mean, they got a lot of young talent. It's going to take time for them to put it all together consistently.
So it's turned into a 30-yard, a point after attempt, and Pelfrey, no doubt about that one. Cincinnati still looking for its first win of the season. They're up 10-0.
Rushing touchdown of the year comes right here. Scott Brumfield, the big right guard, does a great job of getting outside on Derek Hoskins, the strong safety. You'll see here, you get 330 mashing on the safety. It's a walk here.
And suddenly the Riverfront Stadium crowd has come to life. These hapless Bengal fans trying to witness the first win of the season. And what relief for Coach Dave Shula and Ken Anderson. Anderson, of course, calling the plays, but Dave Shula very involved in the offense. But earlier we showed you the and watch the. We got a chance today, guys.
Well, that's a cooperative effort there. I mean, that's between all the offensive staff and Klingler making some big tosses and a good play by the offensive line.
All right, Lee Johnson back in to kick off. They went with Pelfrey the previous kickoff, and this is the Rocket. Give Ismail, and Ismail is swarmed over at the 20.
You know, one of the big concerns when your team is 0-10 is the fact you might lose them at any time, Dan. And, you know, I've been on some bad football teams, and a lot of people lose focus, but I tell you what, Shula has done a great job of keeping these guys together. You know, there's been a little bit of backbiting, but you can see they're coming out against a very strong Raider team, and they are putting it together on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, they were in that game in the Meadowlands last week. They lost 17-12 to the Jets. It was the week before that really when they hit bottom, losing to Houston 38-3. But they say this team has not quit. They've had good practices and is still looking for the first win. A Hostetler first down pass, looking downfield. He was looking for Greg Robinson out of the backfield. And with a score 10-0, Bengals with 5 minutes left in the first half, that really does not bode well for a team which has been especially strong in the first half and has had a tendency to fade in the second half. Look at those numbers, flip-flop.
Exactly, and you know, that's one of the things. It's called focus. And you know, Art Shell was worried about it. He challenged a dozen of his veteran leaders, said, hey, look, when, you know, we play hard, we can do what we want to do, but he doesn't get it all the time, every down.
And this is Robinson with a burst up the middle, and he'll get a gain of about 8 or 9.
Well, and coming into that play right there, he had rushed 3 times for 4 yards, and that's kind of like a bread and butter thing. You know, Robinson has been a spark to this offense, and he hasn't been able to get it going so far. There you see that massive line getting a good push there. Steve Smith, the fullback, doing a good job filling on Crumry, and they were able to bust it up in there for about 8 yards, bringing up 3rd and 2.
Well, we've talked a lot about that running game, but Jeff Hostetler has not even completed a pass in 4 tries so far this game. He's got the rocket to the near side. It's more like 3rd down and 3 for the Raiders. Hostetler trying to avoid the pressure. He's not going to get away. Stubbs and Mike Fryer sack Hostetler.
It'll be a sack for Fryer, but more than anything else, it was great coverage. I'm going to tell you something. When you have the kind of speed the Raiders can line up outside, it has got to scare you to death. Here, Fryer playing for Copeland does a good job shaking off on big Max Montoya and coming around and then getting a little cleanup help from Stubbs. But the thing is, it's amazing how good they're covering those elusive and extremely fast wide receivers. That took a long time for that to happen.
Jeff Gossett to punt for the Raiders. Patrick Robinson waiting a high spiral, which has driven him back to the 35. He calls a fair catch, and that is where Cincinnati will have the ball with 3:34 to go.
Well, you know, Art Shell told us last night, he says, you know, we're 6-4. We really have a great chance to control our division, and you see him trying to mix it up out there.
Well, as the Bengals and Raiders scuffle, next Sunday we'll remind you that NBC Sports presents another exciting NFL doubleheader. We've got a doubleheader fight going on in the field right now. 12:30 Eastern, it all begins with NFL Live, and most of you will see these Raiders take on the Buffalo Bills, a big matchup for Los Angeles, and some of you will see the Patriots and the Steelers, game 2 of the doubleheader. Most of you will see the Broncos and the Chargers. Some of you will see Kansas City and Seattle. Check your local listings for the game and time in your area. Bengals with a 10-0 lead. 3:34 left in the first half. Green gets the ball, and he spins around trying to pick up something, but he'll lose a yard. McLaughlin and Anthony Smith dropped him for a loss.
Well, the grand old man, Howie Long, makes a great penetrating play there. We're going to take a look at the top of your screen, number 75, still one of the quickest off the ball. Was able to cause some havoc in the backfield. Talking with Howie yesterday, he says, you know, I know it's getting close to the end, but he said it's a lot of fun playing with these young guys.
Yeah, he calls them kids.
Oh, you know, kind of like the kids there, the McLaughlin group.
Got a television show, don't they?
He might need one after today.
They have one. Klingler rolls and spins, gets the ball complete to Tony McGee. Actually, it was David Frisch, but he is stopped cold, and the Bengals' offensive series here is so far sputtering.
Well, again, what you want to do is stay out of that long yardage. Well, what happens first down, you're trying to run the ball at Howie. He makes a play in the backfield now. You know, you try to do something through the air. Now you find yourself in 3rd and long, and this is a death trap against that Raider pass rush. Good
numbers for Klingler so far. Last week, he was 22 of 31, 196 yards, threw a couple of interceptions. And they keep it on the ground to Fenner. And Fenner with a good gain up to the 45. Needed to get to the 46 for the first down as we approach the 2-minute warning. And we are at the 2-minute warning. Right back in a moment. Of the first down, he's about a foot away from the first down marker. So with 2 minutes left in the first half, Dave Shula and the Cincinnati Bengals will not take any chances, and they have brought out Lee Johnson to punt. There was a little bit of a jittery guy in his office yesterday, Dave Shula. We had a chance to talk with him. Didn't spend a lot of time with him. I think that he was so worried about getting out of the practice field and figuring out what his team had to do today to beat the Raiders that he just didn't have a lot of time to chat with us.
Well, I mean, what can you say? You know, you got to feel for the guy. You're 0-10. You're trying your best to put yourself in a position to win each and every week, and it looks like he has come upon a pretty good recipe for success. He's got the offense moving the ball so much more efficiently here the last couple of weeks, and this cooperative play calling, I think, has been something that really has helped them.
And look at the time of possession for the Bengals, almost 20 minutes to the Raiders 10, 2-1. And that's what the Raiders did so effectively last week against San Diego. Tim Brown stands deep at his 12-yard line. He'll receive the punt from Lee Johnson.
Again, when your team is really struggling and is looking for something to happen, you always look to your special teams. Watch Tim Brown. He's done it a jillion times in his career.
Johnson's kick is a boomer angling for the left side, but it'll roll into the end zone, so the Raiders will have the ball first and 10 at the 20 with 1:51 left. Dave Shula 1-0 in his career against the Raiders, and will also point out that the Raiders have not had great success here at Riverfront. They've dominated the series 14 out of 20, but they're only 5-5 in Riverfront here, and they lost last year in overtime, 24-21. And look at the quarterback comparison. That's a 10-year veteran Hostetler and a second-year man in Klingler.
Well, Hostetler may be trying to find somebody over there to help him with these play calling duties. You know, and I think that, you know, here's a guy that knows how to get it done. They just haven't been able to get on track yet.
Hostetler had his arm batted, or perhaps the ball, but he still gets it away, and it is complete to Tim Brown. Boy, that'll give you an indication of how strong Jeff Hostetler is.
Well, he told us yesterday he's pretty beat up. He's got a bad knee. His ankle's bothering him, and he doesn't have that elusiveness out of the pocket. That time he was able to stand in there strong and get the ball to Tim Brown for a big gain.
First and 10 for the Raiders at the 39. Clock ticking with 1:20 left in the first half. Hostetler's got a lot of room, and he'll get the first down. Across midfield, he's down at the Bengal 49. So the Raiders trail it 10-0, but they may get a shot at the end zone when we come back. Last week before the win over San Diego, Dan, and he said that, yeah, you guys are doing the job on the field, but we want you to be a little bit more vocal.
Well, I think what he's trying to do is challenge his veterans to make sure this team doesn't sell itself short. And, you know, if you're a parent, you've got a kid that doesn't study and still makes C's, you're thinking he could do so much better. And even though they're 6-4, they've done some good things this year, they could have done a lot better, and he wants to make sure they don't leave it, you know, someplace other than on the game field on Sunday. And Hostetler is one of the guys that he really wants to try to get his other guys inspired to do that.
Now they haven't scored a touchdown in 6 quarters. They went touchdownless last week in San Diego. And looking for the rocket, Raghib Ismail, and they're calling it incomplete. And that stops the clock with 1:09 left. The Raiders with 1 timeout remaining.
Well, thus far, Ron Lynn, the defensive coordinator, has done a pretty good job of confusing Hostetler. He's been able to hit a few of the passes, but his defensive front has been able to put enough pressure on him and giving him a chance to stay with those fast receivers of the Raiders.
Second down and 10 for Los Angeles. They're at the Bengal 49. Hostetler going down the right side for Ethan Horton, and he makes the catch. Or no, they're indicating it's incomplete. It looks like Horton had the football.
But Darrell Williams will be the guy that gets the credit if they do not count this. Oh, Art Shell says it's a catch. It looked good to me, too, Dad.
It looked like an excellent catch by the tight end, Ethan Horton.
A catch where he had to pay a price to get it.
Let's have another look at this one.
Well, again, they're up there faking a little bit of blitz. Go with a four-man rush. Horton and man-on-man coverage. And here Williams knocks it loose. Darrell Williams is a guy that I think should go to the Pro Bowl on a team that's 0-10. He has made more big plays to help them try to get in a position to win games than maybe anybody in the league.
Heck of a big play by Darrell Williams, the second-year player, the All-American out of Miami, the leading tackler on the Cincinnati team.
And not only does he do a lot of things that tackle, he's an intimidator out there, and he's got such great speed that he's a threat to go all the way back with an interception like he did 3 weeks ago against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, we talked to Ron Lynn, the defensive coordinator today. He says this has been a lone bright spot really on defense, and this kid is on the verge of perhaps a Pro Bowl appearance playing that effectively. Third down now and 15 for the Raiders. Hostetler looking downfield. He's got the jet. James Jett makes the reception at the 12, and had he been able to make the reception and keep going, he would have landed in the end zone.
Well, that's got to be heartbreaking. They did a great job covering people up. Hostetler didn't have anybody. Got a little time, and then Jett cleared.
Well, now the Raiders hurrying up to the line of scrimmage. They still have one timeout left. Hostetler takes the drop, looking for the end zone, and was looking for Rocket Ismail. Will I give Ismail the incompletion to him? Stops the clock with 28 seconds left. The Raiders still have that timeout left.
Well, when you have 4-1 speed, it's hard enough for someone to cover you. But if you give a guy with 4-1 speed enough time, they'll find a way to get open. That time, he was able to go ahead and sneak out from underneath that zone, get the reception.
Ball at the 13. Second down and 10. 28 seconds left on the clock in the first half. Raiders trail it 10-0. Hostetler with a lot of time, going for the end zone, incomplete. He was looking for Jett. And so that stops the clock with 21 seconds, and it'll bring up third down and 10.
Again, great coverage by the Bengal defense. You can see Hostetler shaking his head. He's saying, hey, I can't find anybody open. And when you have that kind of speed, it must be the fact that they're not able to make crisp enough breaks and utilize that speed, and the Bengals are just staying right with them. Take a look here at Hostetler. He says, hey, come on. Get something to get him. You can't find anybody to get the ball to.
Riverfront Stadium comes to life. Third down and 10. Hostetler to the end zone, and it'll be incomplete. Tim Brown was the intended receiver. Rod Jones was all over him. That'll bring up fourth down, and that will bring out the field goal kicker for Los Angeles, Jeff Jaeger. And Hostetler is hot.
Well, again, apparently receivers are on a different wavelength because he's not getting the patterns that he intends to get. That time, Tim Brown was just out jump for the ball.
All right, this will be a 31-yard attempt for Jaeger, who has already missed 42 and 44-yard attempts. And he has missed this one.
Well, that's 3 now that he's just flat pulled. Might need to go there and set on the heater and loosen up a little bit.
He had such an outstanding game last week. He's 0 for 3 today.
You know, that's tough. It all comes down to the leg of the kicker, and it's easy to point a finger, but I don't know whether his plant foot is slipping or maybe he's adjusting a little bit and crowding the ball. That may be the problem. With the slick field, he may not be able to get his plant foot in a proper position and have confidence in it.
Here's the reaction of Jeff Jaeger. The hold looked good. Jeff Gossett, the punter, is the holder. And everything seemed in order for the Raiders to get on the board before the first half gun sounds. But it will sound with the sound of the stadium in Riverfront Stadium. The Bengals have a 10-0 lead. Could this be the year? More of NBC's coverage of the NFL after this message from the NFL and a word from your local stations.
coming out of the locker room, a stone-faced Howie Long just walked out. Hard to tell whether they're resolved or not, but I'll tell you what, Art Shell called them together before the half. I think you'll see a more animated Raider offense.
All right, John, thank you very much. That is Willie Galt handling the kickoff from Lee Johnson, so the Raiders will get a chance right away to try to get something going offensively. Did not have a touchdown last week against San Diego and have been held scoreless here in the first half. Hostetler's numbers just 2 for 11. He's been sacked already twice today.
Again, Hostetler is a very efficient quarterback. He likes to operate behind a balanced attack, and really the Bengals have taken away everything he wants to do. Great coverage and enough pressure to get him on the ground a couple times.
Hostetler to the air. He's got Tim Brown, and a quick first down for the Raiders as Brown is brought down at the 32-yard line by Ricardo McDonald. So Tim Brown at his 6th year out of Notre Dame with a first down reception. 2-time Pro Bowler and the Heisman Trophy winner back in 1987. Just his 2nd reception of the game. He is the leading receiver for the Raiders, and they'll be counting a lot on him in this second half. Raiders down 10-0. And this is the rookie Robinson, and he's got a first down. So 2 plays, 2 first down for the Raiders. 1 by air, and then Greg Robinson takes off on the ground there.
Well, the Raiders are 6-4, and they've done some things very well. And I think you got to dance with who brung you. And what they've done is been able to get a good stretch on that defense and hand the ball off to the rookie Robinson. And there, he busted up through a wide open hole and gets the ground game going.
Well, so far we've seen what John Dockery described just a moment ago. Looks like a more fired-up Raider offense here in the opening moments of the first half. And here is Hostetler deep, and he's got the jet. James Jett came back to the football and made the reception. Or did he? There seems to be some confusion now at about the 5-yard line.
Well, the official ran up and marked the spot where they recovered the ball. Now, if the ground cannot cause a fumble, I'd like them to explain this to me.
Well, now they've indicated that Fernandez Benson recovered the football. Hostetler is hot. He's come all the way down to the 5-yard line to argue. And here's Ed Kukoc.
Anytime the Raiders are playing, the officials will be the stars of the show. It's always going to be a lot of things that sort out. Well, let's see what he's got here.
See what Kukoc has to say. Now he's motioning in for...
Well, the Bengals have already got their offense out on the field.
It's just total confusion out there right now among the officiating crew.
We're going to trying to get a shot here of what the call should be. We'll take a real quick peek at it here. You'll see make the reception, and then apparently trying to get up, the ball came out. He wasn't down by contact. It was a fumble when he tried to get up.
Well, the question is, did he have...
On the ground, he was not down by contact, thereby fumbling the ball.
That's a good call.
Recovered first down.
That's a good call. He was not down and made contact with the ball on the ground with him, and he gets up, tries to make something happen, and fumbles. Good call by the official.
James
excellent
Jett
job.
Made an excellent job in getting back to the football, but Fernandez Vincent recovers the fumble. And what could have been a huge pass play for the Raiders, which would have put them down at about the 5-yard line of the Bengals, is instead turned into Cincinnati taking over. So Art Shell's team zipped it right up the field and turned it over.
Anyway, Shell got what he wanted out of his offense. They moved the ball right down, but little things mean a lot. And great catch by Jett, but then you got to make sure you don't fumble it down there, and it's got to be very, very frustrating.
And you also have to make sure you get the chains back. That's what the delay was there. The chains were not in place at the 10-yard line. So first down and 10, Cincinnati. And this is Finner, who's had some excellent games on receptions this game. This time he's on the ground before Greg Townsend brings him down. And there has been the second half story for Cincinnati. Outscored 110-41. And with the job the Raiders have done in the second half, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
Exactly. Neither team has done a whole lot in the second half. And again, the game has been the exact opposite of what we expected. Let's see if it unfolds that way.
That is Query in motion to the far side as Klingler gives it to Miles. And Miles, with his first carry of the game, only his 20th carry of the season. As you look at the numbers for the second-year man out of Houston, the 9th-round draft pick for Miles, who trots off the field in a very quick appearance for Cincinnati. 3rd down and 7. Patrick Robinson, Wesley Carroll, and Jeff Query in the 3 wideout set. But they'll keep it on the ground, and the quick hitter to Eric Ball. And Ball has the first down.
Well, Eric Ball is the guy they bring in. He's a good receiver. He's very effective in their 3rd down and long offense. There, he just takes a little gut play and just splits the Raider defense. Good blocking there at the point of attack. Number 72, Scott Brumfield, the rookie, doing a good job getting up through the hole and sealing on the linebacker.
I really think that Cincinnati fooled the Raiders there. 3rd and 7, the 3 wideout set. Klingler's been so effective in play action earlier this game. That time it was for real to Ball, and he gets the first down. Ball at the 31. Klingler runs it out of the pocket and is able to gain a couple of yards. Townsend and McLaughlin chased him down.
In a situation like this, you know, the Vader has a very veteran football team. You expect them to know down and distance here. You see a real good rush by the defensive front, forcing Klingler really never to have a chance to set up and try to scramble and get back to the line of scrimmage. But that's what you're looking for. Your defense, a veteran defense, try to get those guys to get something started there for you.
Klingler, the leading rusher on the team, or actually the 3rd leading rusher on the team, is able to get 3. So this is Miles on the 2nd down and 7 call. But Klingler, when he runs, can gain some big yardage. He's averaging 8.6 yards a carry. He's the number 3 rusher on this team. And he will run and run for good yardage when given the opportunity.
And a lot of times, you know, that's not what you want out of your quarterback. He gets paid a lot of money to throw the ball. Early in the year, he would just break and run at the first sign of trouble. But, you know, he took 3 weeks off. He seems to be a lot more mature now, and he has a better feel. And we haven't really seen him do that. He's found somebody to get the ball to.
Big 3rd down play here for Cincinnati. 3rd down and 2. And this is Miles, and he will be short. He needed to get to almost the 42, and he's lucky if he got to the 40-yard line. Winston Moss made the stop, so Cincinnati will break down at a punt formation. And here comes Lee Johnson. Back deep for the Raiders, the all-time punt returning leader for Los Angeles, Tim Brown. And he stands back at the 16. They just get it off. Johnson's kick angling to the left side. Tim Brown takes it at the 20. Across the 30, hit hard at the 32-yard line by Steve Tovar. So the Raiders will have another shot, this time at the 31-yard line, but they trail it 10-0. 10 at the 30. Jet in motion to the far side, and they'll keep it on the ground. Nick Bell gets his first carry of the game. Steve Tovar and James Francis made the stop, but Nick Bell was the guy before the season began. He was supposed to be the featured back in Art Shell's offense, but he's been hampered most of the season by injuries, but he did have a good week of practice this week, and with Napoleon McCallum inactive today because of an appendectomy yesterday, Nick Bell was supposed to see more action today. Only gained a yard there, 2nd down and 9. Hostetler has all day and gets it, and it is complete. Rod Jones made the stop on Ethan Horton, the tight end.
Officials called it a non-catch.
But it wasn't a reception. Again, there have been some late calls coming in after apparent Raider receptions.
Well, it's not going to be easy for the Raiders to make it happen today. It looks like they're going to have to earn everything. You see Horton getting the ball and being separated before hitting the ground. Let's take a look. Again, possession. You have to have 2 feet down. It never happened. Good call.
Rod Jones made the big hit. Hostetler on 3rd down. He'll go down.
Again, excellent coverage by the Bengals secondary. And it's incredible when you look at the speed that they can line up out there. Ron Lynn may be putting in his best performance of the year on defense as a coordinator, and no one really would ever know it.
And Hostetler getting up gingerly after the sack from McDonald, the 3rd sack of the afternoon on Hostetler.
Well, Ricardo McDonald coming up inside, getting the sack, but again, Hostetler nowhere to go with the football.
That is the first sack of the year for McDonald. Here's the punt. Back deep is Robinson to receive. And he hops and skips his way over to the 43-yard line. So Cincinnati's defense rises to the occasion once again. They lead it 10-0. There's Jeff Hostetler on the sidelines getting a tape job of the right ankle. Man, we talked to him last night. We said, how you feeling? Are you feeling healthy? He says, well, he asked me what's hurting, what's not hurting.
Well, Ricardo beat Nick Bell there, fell back in on Hostetler, and obviously twisted his ankle. It's not going to be easy at all for the Raiders today.
1st and 10 for the Bengals. Good play action from Klingler, and he's going to go way downfield. He's looking for Jeff Query, but stride for stride with Query was Terry McDaniel.
You know, we haven't said much about Terry McDaniel today, but he may be having as fine a year as any cornerback in the AFC, except, say, for Rod Woodson. I tell you what, you watch film of this guy, and you just don't see many people throwing the ball in his area.
McDaniel coming off his first Pro Bowl last season. Led the team with 4 interceptions, and his 3 interceptions this year leads the Raiders as well. 2nd down and 10, Cincinnati from its own 42. Klingler to throw again, and he's got Tony McGee, the tight end, and McGee stretching out for extra yardage. It was McGee's key 21-yard reception in the first half that set up the Bengals' touchdown, the 1-yard run by Eric Ball. So the rookie out of Michigan figuring into the offensive set for Cincinnati.
Well, McGee, I tell you what, he's done a lot of good things today already. He's a rook, and he's only going to get better. That time, I mean, he shucked a couple of tacklers and tried to make it back to the 1st down mark.
3rd down and 4, 3 wideouts in. Wesley Carroll, Patrick Robinson, and Jeff Query for Klingler. Buying some time, looking on the right side. It is complete. And this is Wesley Carroll making the reception. And that'll be a 1st down for the Bengals.
Well, one of the things, you know, Klingler is about 6'2", and sometimes he has to look around and find a crack to hit these receivers. Here, Carroll just does a real good job pushing off McDaniel and then making a good move back to a square in. Klingler finding the ways to get the ball to the receiver.
The wide receivers finding ways to get open. They're without Carl Pickens today. Their 2nd leading receiver, Klingler, hot, 11 of 14. They got a 1st and 10 at the Raider 40. And this is Green. He'll get a couple along the right side before Mike Jones stops him. So a good mix of offensive players for Cincinnati. I get the feeling that the Raider defense is being kept off balance.
Well, I think that's what you have to do with a great pass rush. You know, when I played with the Bears, we did a lot of great things on defense, and what we always found was offenses did a lot of different things against us because they knew if they got in 3rd and long, they were going to have a hard time getting it done. Well, Cincinnati has kept the Raiders at bay, and they haven't unleashed that rush yet.
I think Kenny Anderson ought to hang on to those first 14 plays on that cheat sheet. Hey, this is a big opening for Harold Green. He's got 1st down yardage.
Put that play right there on the top of the list. That was a slant play back against the defensive front, getting great blocking. I tell you what, the Bengals offensive line is doing a very good job. You know, the only guy that's really done anything was McLaughlin, but Joe Walter and Kazurski and those guys up front are getting it done against a great defensive front for the Raiders.
15 yards on the game for Green. You look at what they've done today. The average yards per game this year, 75.8. They've already eclipsed that. And Harold Green on the sidelines as the Bengals now have it at the Raider 24. Play action from Klingler rolling the other way, and it was intended for Eric Ball out of the backfield, and Klingler just did a good job of getting rid of that. He had pressure all over him.
Well, you know, when a guy is drafted in the first round, you kind of expect immediate results, and last year Klingler never really showed exactly what a lot of people, you know, the reasons why a lot of people made a special pick for him, but I'll tell you what, right there, he goes back, and he's under intense pressure, and he just flips it underhand, and it should have been caught. And that's the kind of talent that you look for in a quarterback you can build an offense around. And I'll tell you what, he's made great strides the last 2 weeks.
Very quick quarter here. There's just 5:20 left in the third as Derek Fenner gets the call. But getting back to the better decisions being made by David Klingler, and talking with Ken Anderson yesterday, Klingler has thrown 7 interceptions on the year, but Kenny Anderson told us there's really only 2 that I'm critical of.
Well, you know, a lot of those interceptions, those picks are ones that come at the end of a half or the end of a game when you're really throwing up a prayer. But Klingler has really done a remarkable job of not throwing the ball where he shouldn't. You know, late and over the middle. That's a trap a lot of young quarterbacks fall into. He has not fallen into that. And today, against intense pressure, he has been able to get rid of the ball and get it on the right spot.
3rd down and 7. They're 2 for 6 on 3rd down conversion so far. Klingler pump fakes, going to run it out. He'll be short of the first down, picks up a couple of yards. Torin Doran, the right cornerback for the Raiders, ran him down, but that'll bring out the field goal attempt for the Bengals.
Well, that's the trap they didn't want to get into against the Raiders. 3rd and long. Never really had a chance to find anything except a crack to get out of.
Doug Pelfrey has hit on a 45-yarder. That earlier gave him, or tied him with a team record for 13 straight field goals, and then he missed a 33-yarder. That was no good earlier, and this one will be a 35-yard attempt. And he's got it. Doug Pelfrey adds to the Bengal lead. 3:54 to go in the third. Tonight he felt his team was ready to play. Did not think that they were taking the 0-10 Bengals lightly at all, but the last thing that Art Shell and the Raiders want to do is be the team that gives the Bengals their first victory of the year. The Bengals up 13-0.
Well, he talked about how important it was not to overlook the Bengals. You know, they're 6-4. They're 1 game back. Kansas City may get beat today. I mean, they could be tied for first. And, you know, then all of a sudden, boom, you hit something, and it's Cincinnati.
Lee Johnson's kick, and it'll be taken by Willie Gall. Actually, this is the Rocket, Ragib Ismail, and he's up to the 35. A good return for the Rocket, and the Raiders will try it from the 35. 3:42 left in the third. Back at Riverfront Stadium, Nick Bell has just made the reception from Jeff Hostetler. The Raiders began their series at the 34-yard line, and a first down reception for Nick Bell.
Nick Bell was drafted to be the late game closer for the Raiders. Al Davis always likes a big guy late in the game. You know, defenses are tired. Big guy like that can run through a lot of arm tackles. Never been able to be a factor because he can't stay on the field.
Ball at the 48. Hostetler. Pass complete. Tim Brown. Another first down for the Raiders. Ricardo McDonald made the stop on Brown, but not before he picks up another first down.
Well, it looks like the Raiders are figuring out how to find holes in this defense. You'll see there it's a soft zone. They get it jammed, and everybody falls back into a little area. Tim Brown, being a wily old veteran there, finding a crack in it and settling down and catching the ball.
3 catches already, 51 yards for Tim Brown. 1st and 10, ball at the 33 of Cincinnati. They show the pass, and then hands off to Nick Bell, and Nick Bell may have another first down.
Nick Bell.
Williams and McDonald made the stop.
Well, you can see that the Bengals are kept off balance a little bit. Now that they run, they throw, they do this, and they're not getting the pressure they had early. Now, of course, they come back with just a straight handoff dive play. Creases them pretty good there for a first.
Raiders taking their yardage in big chunks. They're down at the 22. Under 2 minutes left in the third. Hostetler on the run, spins and just throws it away. Pressure coming from Tovar and Francis. And the Riverfront Stadium crowd wanted the intentional grounding flag, but there will be none of that.
We'll take a look at this. Francis coming around the inside, run a little game there, blitz straight up. Hostetler able to get away from him. And, you know, when you're 0-10, again, the little things, well, Francis was untouched. If he makes that sack, it takes him out of field goal range at the very least. You got to make plays when you get a chance to in this league.
Second down and 10 for the Raiders. Hostetler over the middle, and he's got his man. And that is the Rocket, Raghib Ismail, with the reception. Mike Brim on the coverage for Cincinnati.
Well, Ron Lynn, the defensive coordinator, went with the soft zone early. Now he's bringing some people. You'll see Tovar coming up on the left side. They're trying to get some kind of pressure on Hostetler, not letting him sit back there. Finally, someone clears, and he's able to get it to him.
Gain of 5 for the Rocket. Third down and 5. Ball at the 17. Under a minute left in the third quarter.
So they bring the inside people again.
Hostetler looking for Tim Brown, and he's made the reception. He's inside the 5, and it'll be first and goal for Los Angeles.
Well, when you're down 13-0 at a hostile location, you look to your veteran leaders to make some plays. Here is a great throw and catch. Look at that catch. Let me tell you something. Tim Brown has become one of the fine receivers in the NFL, and he is one of those guys that you just love to have on your team. But the reason you do is because he'll make plays like that for you.
He may not have the speed he used to have coming off that knee injury, but Tim Brown is the one that Jim Hostetler counts on in the crucial situations. First and goal from the 3. And it's Nick Bell, and he won't get anything. The Bengal defense rising to the occasion. Daniel Stubbs put the hit on the big running back, 6'2", 250 pounds, Nick Bell. Art Shell and the Raiders at the end of the third quarter, down 13-0. Points to the opponent, 79 in the fourth. They're knocking on the end zone here. Second down and goal to go. And this is Nick Bell inside the 5. That'll bring up third down and goal as Williams and Mike Fryer put the stop on Nick Bell. But I would say it has reached the critical stage here, Dan Hampton, for the Raiders.
Well, it has. And again, you know, you look for your veteran guys to make plays for you. And you're going to see David Shula's trying to get his veteran guys to make plays for him. He's got Big Crumb Rye in the middle. Hinkle, Fryer, those big guys inside. They're going to have to stand up and make a play here to try to protect that 13-0 lead.
Third and goal, Hostetler, 6 of 8 for 116 yards this half. He's been on the mark, but he'll run this in for the touchdown. Untouched, Jeff Hostetler finally gives the Raiders their first touchdown. They had gone the 4 quarters last week without a touchdown, and they had gone the first 3 quarters of this game, so 7 touchdownless quarters for the Raiders before Hostetler finally walks in from 4 yards out.
Well, that could have been the quarterback draw play. Either that or just the veteran recognition of Hostetler. Come back to the pocket, just sees an opening. He acts like Moses in the parting of the sea, just walks in.
So Jeff Jager, who has missed 3 field goals today, pops the extra point in, and The Raiders are finally on the board.
Again, you'll see, goes back. It is a quarterback draw all the way. Hostetler's beat up, but he can still make a pretty good effort getting into the end zone there.
Opening moments of the fourth quarter. The Raiders have their first touchdown. They still trail it, though, 13-7. AFC West Division title this year. Came into the ball game trailing Kansas City by just a game. Find themselves 13-7 down to the Cincinnati Bengals, who are looking for their first win of the season. And this is a Raider team in the middle of a 3-game road trip, and they are 4-1 on the road this season. And the last place that they think they'd pick up a loss would be here in Cincinnati.
Well, I tell you what, at halftime, after they failed to score, they looked like a guy walking in the park and somebody hits him in the back of the head. They didn't know what was happening.
There was a scoring drive for the Raiders' first touchdown. Ostel Miles and Patrick Robinson back deep, and this is Robinson. He'll get up to the 24-yard line, and that's where the Bengals will begin. 14:08 left to play. Will this finally be the win for Dave Shula? And the Raiders had to re-kick the football because Andre Bruce was offsides on the kickoff, and Robinson has a little better field position for Cincinnati to deal with here. They'll begin at the 32-yard line. So this is really gut check time for David Klingler on the Cincinnati offense, Dan. The Raider offense went right through the Bengal defense on the previous series.
Well, again, you know, that's what you have to do. It's a counter-punching series of things that happen during the course of the game. They get a good shot on you. You've got to buy some time and let your defense recover. You need to get a couple of first downs here at the very least. Again, that scripted offense, we'll see if it works.
And this is Derek Fenner, and he gets nowhere. Aaron Wallace, the left linebacker for Los Angeles, made the stop. And the Bengals haven't really been doing anything offensively as of late.
Well, on that last touchdown by Hostetler, what happens is they get into a front like this, and it's a 4-man rush. You'll see these guys here. Hostetler takes 2 steps, and then once everybody else runs away from it, it's an easy walk-in for a guy like Hostetler. You see him here. Just see, again, Red Sea parts, go in.
Second down and 9. Klingler over the middle to Fenner. He'll be short of the first down. They needed 9 yards. That'll bring up third down and a couple. Terry McDaniel with a stop for Los Angeles.
Well, that's what you want to have on second and long is a little check down pass to one of your backs to let them get you 5 or 6 and keep you out of that third and long. Now 3rd and 5. A lot easier and more attainable than the other.
3 wideouts for Klingler this time. Erie, Carroll, and Robinson. Klingler feels the pressure, tries to get it away, and does to Fenner. And Fenner's close to a first down. Needed to get to the 42. And what a job by David Klingler to get rid of the football.
I tell you what, if you would have saw a film of Klingler the first couple of weeks and now, you'd say it's a different player. He has matured and became a real-life NFL quarterback here in the last couple of weeks. Again, going back, the pocket's collapsing. Harrison getting the guard stuff right back in his face in almost a sure sack situation. He's able to find Fenner and get the ball for a first down.
Great play by Klingler to avoid the sack and the completion. Not only good yardage, but good for the first down. Klingler firing, and this time incomplete. Query was in the vicinity, but that'll bring up second down and 10. And let's head back to New York. And Jim Lampley, what's going on back there?
Well, let's go to the Georgia Dome, Dan, and watch the score tighten up just a little bit. Last play of the third quarter, 35 yards out. Todd Philcox finally gets the Belichick Browns on the board against the Falcons. Mark Carrier with the catch in the end zone. It was 17-0, now 17-7 Atlanta in the fourth. Back to Dan and Dan.
All right, Jim, here are the Cincinnati Bengals. Record franchise losing streak of 11 dating back to last year as Fenner gets the call. Trying to break the streak. Chester McLaughlin brought down Fenner.
You know, when you draft a guy in the first round, you hope he's a great run player or a great pass rusher. This kid can do both. There you see him doing a great job of what we call skating down the line, controlling the blocker, skate, skate, skate. Oh, running back, tackle. He can do it all.
3rd down and 9 for the Bengals. Klingler buys time, rolls to the right, and it was intended for Wesley Carroll, and it's incomplete, so that will bring out the punting unit for Cincinnati. Not able to get the job done offensively, and the Raiders will have it back with 11:30 left in the game.
Well, again, the Raiders are showing why they are the #2 ranked defense in the league. They're starting to really get some pressure. They're forcing Klingler out of the pocket. He wasn't able to plant and get the ball into a wide-open Carroll on the sideline.
Will stand at his 30. Tim Brown is at his own 20 to receive the punt. And this time, Johnson sends a spiral all the way down. It bounces at the 3 and goes out of bounds inside the 1. That's a clinic there by Lee Johnson. He checked that one up like a golf ball. 56-yard punt by Johnson. It pins the Raiders back deep. Riverfront Stadium, that has stopped, and a big play by the punter Lee Johnson. 56-yard punt, and it does not get any better than this. Pinning the Raiders back at the 1-yard line. So the field position favors the Bengals big time right now as the Raiders begin 1st and 10. They trail at 13-7. Nick Bell pushed back. The Bengals wanted the safety. Steve Tovar made the stop on Bell.
It looks like Tovar was able to meet Bell at about the 1-yard line, and Bell didn't make any more progress after Tovar hit him. You'll see him right here about the 2-yard line. Let me tell you something. Steve Tovar is a force inside today for Cincinnati. He's making an awful lot of good plays.
Call it a gain of 1 for Bell. 2nd down and 9. Hostetler had trouble getting rid of it. Intended for Tim Brown, incomplete.
I'll tell you what, the Bengal defensive line at times today has had great pressure in the face of Jeff Hostetler. Fryer, Trumry, Hinkle, James Francis rushing the passer a little bit. I mean, they are getting a great push.
You know, and Jeff Hostetler is the kind of guy, Dan, that will just refuse to throw an interception.
He will, and here you see him standing against it. Now, that brings up 3rd down from about the 2-yard line. They are 2 of 6 today in 3rd and long.
And they need 9. Hostetler's pass in and out of the arms of Tim Brown. Rod Jones came up with a big-time play on Brown. 4th down now from the 2. So Gossett will be punting deep in his own end zone.
Mike Grimm and Rod Jones have done a tremendous job at the corners today. The entire defense has really played super. Here you'll see Jones locked up 1-on-1 on Brown. He tries to run him off. Won't have nothing to do with it. Jones closes, makes an excellent play on the ball.
Rod Jones, the veteran of this defensive secondary in his 8th year out of SMU. Gossett back deep from his own end zone. Gets it away, and this is Patrick Robinson. He'll get it from the Raider 49 and try to add more to it. Not much at all, as he takes a knee at about the 46-yard line. But Cincinnati has excellent field position. Just 10:19 left, and if they can grind some time off the clock here and get another touchdown, the Bengals may be closer to their very first victory of the season. Well, the Bengals are about ready to start a huge drive here, and Harold Green is on the sideline, their leading rusher. Apparently he's all right. But instead, Austell Miles and Derek Fenner in the backfield for Cincinnati as they begin 1st and 10. And this is Fenner. Fenner looking for some yardage. May not have gotten back to the line of scrimmage. But a big drive here for Cincinnati as the clock ticks down to 10 minutes left in the game. The Bengals up 13-7. David Shula looking for win number 1 of 93.
Well, and consequently, across the field is a guy who really expected to be, in a blowout position right now. 0-10 team. You got a 6-4 club. Funny game.
Klingler throwing on 2nd and 10. Fenner out of the backfield. Skirts a couple of tackles. Gets inside the 40. And he's down to about the 37. The Raiders indicating that they have the football.
Well, Fenner was down and just let the ball go to jump back up.
Chester McLaughlin ran down Fenner. The big guy has some speed. There was, I think it was Art Shell who was telling us last night that McLaughlin has ran down Neil Anderson, the running back for. Ran down Neil Anderson in the open field in the game earlier with Chicago this year.
Well, it turned out and eventuated to be a big play because Chicago was in position to win that game late. Anyway, we'll take another look at this. And again, Fenner out there just stretching the defense on that little check down pass. Here, ooh.
McLaughlin really popped the ball loose from Fenner. That should have been a fumble. Bengals get away with one. 3rd down and 3 from the 38. Fenner picks up the 1st down for the Bengals.
You know, coming into this game, we knew that Cincinnati needed to diversify the offense. They've been able to throw the ball at times. They've been able to run. They've utilized their check downs. The scripted offense has done, a lot of good things today. But sometimes late in the game, you just got to be a little man about it and fight for a 1st down, and that's exactly what happened. Tom Scott and Ken Morey, the left guard and tackle, created a pretty good scene there, and Fenner just got the 1st down.
Fenner picking up some good yardage. And this is Fenner again. He's got 5 receptions for 52 yards, and that carry right there should put him over the 20-yard mark. But Fenner was the Plan B acquisition from Seattle last year. He spent 3 years with the Seahawks, and there was that time, I believe it was 3 years ago for Seattle, when he scored 15 touchdowns and rushed for 859 yards. So this is a proven running back in the NFL. He's just been hurt a little bit.
Well, not only that, but the Raiders know Derek Fenner from his times in Seattle, and they know that this guy hurt him last year. He's starting to do it again.
2nd down and 9. And Fenner again. 50-year player out of North Carolina. The Bengals choosing to keep it on the ground. And that'll bring up 3rd down and 7. As we take a look at Art Shell, who turned 47 years old on Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. But I don't think this is the kind of birthday present that Art Shell had in mind, coming into Riverfront against an 0-10 team and trailing late.
Well, we already mentioned the fact that he challenged some of the veteran guys, Howie Long, Hostetler, those guys, you're expected to win this game. We've got to make sure that we're ready to play. And it was easy to see that Cincinnati just came out of the gate and got on them early.
Well, Klingler burns the first Bengal time out of the half. So with 7 minutes and 1 second left, the Bengals up by 6. Trailing Kansas City by just a game in the AFC West standings. Kansas City hosting Buffalo today. Win over KC, the Raiders could tie them today, but it hasn't turned out that way so far. Huge 3rd down play for Cincinnati. And Klingler keeps the football, and he needed to get inside the 20 for the 1st down. Mike Jones made the stop. He'll be short, and we'll see the field goal unit and Doug Pelfrey.
Well, almost taking a page out of the Raider playbook. It was a quarterback draw all the way. Klingler trying to get outside and use his athletic skills. Now he's got him right in the middle of the field. Looks like it's going to be about a 44-yarder.
44-yard attempt for Doug Pelfrey. 2 for 3 on the day. Trying to lengthen the Bengal lead, and he's done it.
Well, if you're Art Shell, you start to smell the end. That puts them in a must-score situation, at least 1 touchdown and a field goal to win the game. That was huge.
Pelfrey, born in Fort Thomas, Kentucky, grew up just 10 minutes from Riverfront. Boy, would that be a big kick to put on his resume. Goal for Pelfrey, because that means the Raiders need Well, they need a touchdown and a field goal.
Well, you know, a lot of times the vets will treat a young kicker almost like a virus until he does something big like this. And let me tell you, this kid right here, after that kick, he will be the best friend of every player on that team.
3 for 4 on the day for Pelfrey, and Pelfrey takes a seat as Lee Johnson handles the kicking duties. Back deep for the Raiders as the Rocket takes it out. Across the 30, 40, midfield, watch out! The Rocket finally driven out of bounds at the Bengal 30-yard line. Marcelo Simmons finally caught him. 65-yard kickoff return for the Rocket.
Well, they say speed kills, and a return like that will kill you. The point you have to remember is that is what makes this Raider team so dangerous. Their speed creates so many opportunities. All the great returners will run straight at the coverage. Rocket, no exception. And then once he breaks into the clear, almost breaks it for the distance.
Well, he began this game averaging 24.3 yards on kickoff returns. That would lead the AFC if he had enough attempts, but he didn't. A big one there puts the Raiders in business at the Bengal 30. Hostetler to the air, in and out of the arms of Tim Brown. Steve Tovar had a shot at the football for a moment.
Well, this will be a big series. The Raiders inside the 30. Hostetler knows he has to have at least one touchdown and another score. Look for him to go into the air every time trying to get that quick score.
Well, Hostetler, we asked him how he was feeling. He said, they said, what's hurting, Jeff? He says, well, what's not? I haven't felt good since the Cleveland game. A true warrior for the Raiders. He plays when he's hurt, and he has played effectively, but he's just 8 for 22 today so far. Over the middle, he's got the Rocket, and the Rocket dropped it.
Well, again, you challenge your veterans to make plays for you when you've got to have them. Hostetler, 2 plays in a row. The ball was delivered at the exact spot it needs to be. The receivers have failed to come down with it. Here you'll see Rocket just doing a little runaway in the zone, finding a hole there. Hostetler right on time, can't bring it in.
And the reaction of the Hoss is, come on, guys. We need a touchdown and a field goal. Raiders trail at 16-7. Big third down play here and 10.
Great protection, great coverage.
Flag has been thrown on the play as Hostetler looked deep. A holding call, perhaps, as he went deep for Ethan Horton. James Francis was all the way downfield on the tight end coverage. And it is against the Raiders.
Again, Hostetler getting great protection. It's taken about 5 seconds before it breaks down, but yet the coverage from the Bengal defense is still there. He can't find anyone to go with.
On the offense, number 68. Penalty is declined. 4th down.
So the Bengals will decline the penalty. Bruce Wilkerson with the hold from the right tackle position.
You'll see it right there at the middle of your screen. Number 51, James Francis, doing a good job bull rushing, and he just got drugged down.
So on 4th down, Jeff Jager has spotted the ball at the 38-yard line. It would be a 48-yard attempt. It's not going to have enough. Jeff Jager is 0 for 4. Missed from 42, missed from 44, missed from 31, and unable to connect from 48.
But again, the Raider offense failing to score when it gets into position. Now, last week, Jager wins the game. This week, unable to get it done. Here we'll watch again. Looks like, I'm not completely sure that he is confident with his kicking motion on this field. I think maybe in warm-ups, the icy conditions have affected him such that he can't make the proper move at it.
So the Raiders still need a field goal and a touchdown to pass the Bengals. They set up shop at the 30-yard line. Derek Fenner with the call, and I imagine they'll try to grind up more of the time. The Raiders still have all 3 of their timeouts remaining. Make that 2 as they've just called a timeout with 5:26 left on the clock. Here, but they want to make sure that they don't make any costly mistakes.
Well, we talked about how they can't get in 3rd and long. This is 2nd and 7.5 or so. They've got to get 3 or 4 to make sure they don't get that long yardage on 3rd. I'm
sure Kenny Anderson and Dave Shula telling David Klingler, don't throw the interception. In fact, they'll keep it on the ground to Fenner on 2nd and 7. So that will bring up 3rd down. Still time left as the clock is finally stopped at 5:17. And the Raiders have to burn another timeout, so they now just have 1 timeout left.
Well, we've talked all game about how effective Klingler has been the last 2 weeks, and I really feel like 2 things have contributed to that. Obviously, we visited about how Kenny Anderson, the quarterback coach, and he work on the game plan from a scripted perspective, but the 3 weeks that he took off, I mean, the players, the coaches, they all talked about how he seems so much more mature and confident, and his poise has really increased in the last month. And I tell you what, it's great to see the young players respond like this.
When you're the #1 draft pick, you're under the microscope as we look at the Bengal general manager, Mike Brown.
Well, he's excited, isn't he?
Who's been involved in some headlines this week as there's been continued talk of the Bengals moving from Cincinnati, but he hopes to get that resolved and keep the Bengals here in Cincinnati. In the meantime, the Bengals on 3rd down and 4. The Raiders jump, but they get back as Fenner gets the call, and he's going to be short of the 1st down.
Well, Bruce Kozarski, the center, is an excellent old pro, and you know he's played up and down that line, but on that last play, it looked like Howie Long was offsides, and if all he has to do is just snap the ball, and it will be 3rd and short. I mean, that's what makes you 0-10 or 10-0. No difference. That's exactly what Shula's saying. Snap the ball when they're offsides, Bruce. Come on. Here's a guy that made 3.7. He was an honor student in college. You'd think you'd remember that. You know, guys offside, snap the ball.
Now the Bengals taking as much time off the play clock as they can before Lee Johnson gets it away. Got down to about 1 second, and this is a really poor punt that bounces at the 31. Tim Brown lets it go, and the Bengals touched it up at the, I believe, about the 26-yard line. So the Raiders with 4:19 left, they trail at 16-7. They need 2 scores, a touchdown, and a field goal. Speaking of Hoss, yes, we all know what that music. Bonanza night on NBC. First relive the highlights of 14 years of Bonanza and see the stars that were on the show. If you love Bonanza, this is a 1-hour special you won't want to miss. After an all-new Sequest and the all-new Bonanza movie more than 20 years later, the legend lives again. Michael Landon Jr. and Dirk Blocker star in Bonanza, the return tonight on NBC. Well, it's the Raiders' Hoss that is up against it right now. They take over from the 29. And he's got his man, Mike Brim, with the stop on Ragib Ismail.
Well, 4 minutes and 8 seconds left in the game, and as you can see, the Raiders are going to the hurry-up offense, knowing they've got to have at least 1 touch and something extra.
Well, it was good for a 1st down. Haas back deep again. Plenty of time. This time he dumps it out to Tim Brown. Flags from every direction. Ricardo McDonald made the stop on Tim Brown. And a face mask against the Bengals.
Again, Hostetler has to go to a 2nd or 3rd receiver.
Number 56 on the defense, grabbing and pulling down on the face mask, 15-yard penalty, 1st down.
Well, you see Ricardo McDonald missing the tackle, but grabbing a hold of a suitcase handle there. You can't do that, Ricardo.
That's a huge penalty. 15 yards against the Bengals, and that has put the ball at the Bengal 39, 1st down and 10. Haas Hostetler to Brown, juggles it, and it's intercepted. James Francis. Tim Brown did a juggling act, wasn't able to hold on. It popped up into the hands of James Francis, who picks up his first interception of the season. And a big play was just may have gotten the Bengals their first win.
Hey, we're going to Disneyland. I mean, these guys are so excited. Now, when you're 0-10, I mean, a scrap is great. Here you see Francis just floating in that zone, getting over and being handy, and the opportunity comes up.
Boy, Tim Brown, had he been able to handle that, that would have put the Raiders in excellent position. Hostetler can't believe it. The Bengals have the ball, 1st and 10 from the 25, 3:39 left, and they'll keep it on the ground of Derek Fenner.
You know, it's really not that cold, but if you think about it, the Raiders have really dropped an awful lot of passes, and they fumbled a couple of catches, and you can't help but think that maybe the cold had something to do with it.
And the Raiders have burned out the last of their timeouts. The clock stopped at 3:31, so their worst nightmares coming true for Los Angeles.
Again, Art Shell challenging some of the veterans to make sure that this team is up every week, and especially when you go into a city where you're facing an 0-10 club and it's almost like it looks like on paper a walkthrough. Or I tell you what, quicksand looks safe until you get out in the middle of it.
Well, we've just been told by our sideline man, John Dockery, that Harold Green has been kept out of the game because of a bruised hip. So he will not be involved in what could be the final offensive series of the game for Cincinnati. But we mentioned and we made the point earlier, Dan, that you know, the Raiders have dominated this series. They've won 14 of the 20 games, but it's been a different story here at Riverfront. The Raiders lost here last year in overtime, 24-21. Center on 2nd down and 8. And he gets the ball up to the 30-yard line. An injured Raider is down.
Well, the story of the day has been excellent coverage by the Bengals secondary that really has frustrated the Raiders, but more than that, the offensive production of Klingler and that offense under that scripting system. They have been able to keep Art Shell's offense off the field and control the clock, really beating the Raiders at their own game.
Well, that is Joe Kelly, the former Bengal, and the second leading tackler for the Raiders, being helped off the field. He was the unrestricted free agent acquisition for the Los Angeles Raiders, coming over from the Jets.
There's a guy that originally was drafted here by Cincinnati.
Yeah, the 11th player picked overall by the Bengals back in the 1986 draft. First round pick.
But still, 3rd and 5, if they get the ball back, they have a little bit of light in that tunnel, but they've got to stop them on 3rd and 5 to have a chance.
Derek Fenner has filled in very admirably for Harold Green, especially in the second half. Klingler will keep it and be dropped at the 21.
It's a good call by the Raiders. Obvious running situation, but they blitzed from the outside. Number 48, Lionel Washington, getting him down.
So interesting now, the clock continuing to run, 2:47 and counting left. This is Lee Johnson back in punt formation. His punt will go into the wind. Tim Brown stands back at his own 40-yard line, and if Tim Brown can get an excellent return and get the Raiders back in good field position, they do have some time.
Well, remember, Willie Gault got a big return, and Ishmael got one.
And not a bad punt at all, considering it was into the wind. Brown holds on at the 35 and gets a pretty good return across the 45. And that will stop the clock with 2 minutes and 14 seconds left. Tovar made the tackle on Brown.
Well, you got to think that Tim Crumry, here's the old veteran, number 69, the nose tackle. He's been here through the good times and now, of course, the bad ones. You got to really feel for a guy like this, and, you know, he's been a big part of getting that Raider offense shut down today. One of the great run players in the league. He showed some pass rushing ability today, and they've been a force up front.
One last big test for the Bengal defense. The Raiders going deep downfield. This is James Jett. Not able to catch up to the Hostetler pass. Marcelo Simmons let Jett get behind him, and had Hostetler been on the mark, that could have been 6.
Well, you know, Marcelo Simmons can run, but just look at the way Jett runs away from him. I mean, it's like, you know, just Simmons was tied to a post. Jeez.
Now, this is the portion of the game where you're glad you got guys like James Jett and Raghib Ismail.
Well, you know, a lot of people say, you know, speed creates luck. I don't know if it does, but I think the guys that can run have better luck than people that can't.
But if anybody can run behind the secondary, it's guys like Jett and Ismail. Hostetler in trouble. Runs out of it and picks up the first down. He's at the Bengal 42. James Francis ran him down, but we've reached the 2-minute warning. That stops the clock. So Hostetler looked like he's down, but he has given the Raiders just a little bit of hope. Time for the Hager wrinkle-free cotton super play of the game. You're looking at the rookie out of Michigan, Tim McGee, in a crucial third down situation in the first half, able to come up with a 21-yard reception from Klingler that put the Bengals in business at the 1, and that led to Eric Ball's 1-yard touchdown, and it has been big. Now it's McGee, the cheerleader on the sidelines, as the Raiders have life at the Bengal 42, a minute 55 left. Hostetler. And it's complete to James Jett. The clock continuing to run. The Raiders out of timeouts.
Well, let me tell you something. It may not look like it when all the smoke clears, but Jeff Hostetler has played great football today. He's had an awful lot of drops, but when he had to make something happen, he has. He's
got to make something happen here. Finds some time, rolling to his left, and he needs to get out of bounds, and he does that. Mike Fryer chased him out, and that stops the clock with a minute 26. He's made good decisions. He's not throwing interceptions that have been his fault, and right there he stops the clock getting out of bounds.
Well, again, you know, pretty good protection. Where's he going? Left, right, left, right. Believe me, great defensive game plan by Ron Lynn of Cincinnati. They have been able to completely shut down that Raider passing attack, except for a couple of times where the guys got into a zone crease.
Second down and 10. Hostetler, and he was looking for Ismail. That would have been a first down, but just threw that behind the rocket. And the clock stops with a minute 21 left. Well, Hostetler has made the big plays, and that's what they expect. They gave him a 3-year, $7.5 million contract. The unrestricted free agent from the Giants. And you ask the Raiders, and they'll almost tell you to a man, they love having Hostetler in that offense.
Well, I think he is a big step in the right direction for this offense. But the thing is, they can't wait till the last 2 minutes and try to show up.
3rd and 10. Hostetler comes up with a first down. James Jett. Clock continues to run, approaching a minute left.
Well, what they're doing now, it's basically a variation of a prevent. They know they have to have 3 scores. They're just making them throw it underneath. And, get up slow and burn the clock. The clock is the Bengals' best friend now.
Under a minute. Hostetler looking for the end zone, and it was number 56, Ricardo McDonald, who had what looked like an interception, and then Tim Brown looked like he was going to make the reception before it finally falls incomplete. Boy, McDonald had the interception right in his hands, and then it looked like Brown had another shot. Well, would that have been something if Brown would have been able to hang on to that after dropping the earlier one?
It really would have.
So here's Jeff Jager to attempt a 34-yard field goal, and those are some big points. That has cut the Bengal lead to 16-10, but the Raiders wanted a touchdown, and now they'll have to drive for one, but first get the ball back from Cincinnati if they're to have any chance.
Well,
Jeff Jager finally makes a field goal. He's 0 for 4. It makes him 1 for 5.
Well, I think everybody at home has heard onside kick, by now in the living room. And, everyone in the stadium knows it. The real secret to the onside kick is not only having guys with good hands, but guys that have some guts. The ball's going to be coming at you, and you're gonna have to absorb a couple of torpedo shots because they're going to be really trying to rifle you. But if Cincinnati does indeed retain possession on this onside kick, it's a throwdown. It's
take a knee time, and it's take your first victory of the 1993 season. This is a losing streak which dates back to last year. It's a franchise record losing streak. When they went 0-9, the Bengals established the worst start in franchise history. And now they're trying to finally pick up the first win of 1993, but they'll have to successfully pick up the onside kick from Jeff Jager.
Again, I don't think you can say enough about how efficient Klingler was, and of course the defensive coverage of the Cincinnati defense.
Here's the shift to the left side, and the ball is kicked out of bounds.
It's over.
Normally,
We have a kickoff out of bounds. The first one of a short free kick, 5-yard penalty, free kick.
that's right, they'll move him back 5 yards, and if this one goes out of bounds, then the Bengals would get possession at the point where the ball went out of bounds. So Jeff Jager will now try to really make it happen here. I think it's just, you see more and more of that on onside kicks.
If he would watch me try to hit a 1-iron, it wouldn't be hard for him to do this. That's exactly what my 1-iron shots look like. Kind of a top scud.
So they have moved Jager back to the 30.
Travel 20 and a half yards, therefore it is not considered a short free kick. It's a kickoff out of bounds. The receiving team will take
I was pretty sure that it was going to be over. If it travels over 20, then of course it would be Cincinnati possession. But if it's a short one, a special rule inside the 2 minutes, which would allow them to have a couple of shots at getting an onside kick.
It's almost ironic because it's a similar situation that Dave Shula went through last week when they lost to the Jets in the Meadowlands. There was all that confusion at the end of the game, the safety by Aguilar, and then
I'll tell you what, you've had some long spells in life, but I'll tell you what, that may be the longest one in David Shula's life.
And that should do it. The Raiders are out of timeouts. And Dave Shula will pick up his first victory of 1993. 6th career. The Bengals went 5-11 last year. But the Bengals have now officially stopped the bleeding. Also in jeopardy was becoming the first team to go 0-16. Tampa Bay Buccaneers went 0-14 back in 1976, but there will be no winless season in Cincinnati.
I'll tell you what, has to go off to David Shula and his staff, and of course his team. They've never given up even through this 0-10 drought.
The Raiders had all the reason to play. They were 9.5-point favorites, still alive in a playoff berth, but the Bengals have stopped them 16-10. Cincinnati no longer winless. They beat the Raiders 16-10. Stay tuned for a complete rundown of all of today's NFL action on the Head & Shoulders NFL post-game report. The Bengals 1-10. The Raiders fall to 6-5. For Dan Hampton, I'm Dan Hicks saying so long from Cincinnati.